Hello, I am Dr. Hari Kishan, consultant physician working at Yashoda, Somajigoda, Hyderabad. Now we have come towards the end of the winter. Summer is going to set in soon. And what's trending on Google now? When summer is about to begin, people often search for heat-related how to prevent them. So these are some of the questions that we have taken from the Google search. Here is the first question. How can I prevent heat stroke in summer? So what's a heat stroke? Heat stroke is basically when somebody is exposed to undue high temperatures for long periods of time, which he is not accustomed to. They tend to develop very high fever, almost like 105, 100 Fahrenheit. So that is called heat stroke. Heat stroke is a very serious illness where the person immediately requires hospitalization. So how do you prevent it? So the simplest thing is you stay well hydrated. Keep drinking lots of water, take some buttermilk with some salt or lassi that is freely available to us, and do not expose yourself to direct sunlight for long periods. These simple measures, and also the light colored clothing and covering your head with a cap or hat will prevent from you developing a heat stroke. So let's move on to the next question. Can sunscreen prevent heat stroke? The answer is a simple no. How can I increase my heat tolerance in summer? So often people develop these heat related illnesses. See, heat related illness is not just heat stroke. Heat stroke is one extreme end of the spectrum of heat illnesses. Often what people develop is something called heat exhaustion, where the temperature is not that high. They just feel feverish. Actually, when you check your body temperature, it could be normal, but you feel weak, you feel giddy, you feel like taking rest, lethargic. That's heat exhaustion. Heat stroke is the extreme end of the heat related illnesses where the patient is very sick, requiring ICU admission, immediate hospitalization. So you can increase your heat intolerance by minimizing your duration of exposure to sun. So let's say auto rickshaw person or somebody who delivers Swiggy or Zomato. So he has to be out in the sun throughout the day, whether it's rainy season, winter or summer. What can they do? So they should minimize the duration of exposure. At a stretch, they should not be out in the sun. Let's say every half an hour, they should spend some time in shady areas. They must ensure they are well hydrated, keep drinking water, take more salt. These simple measures, and then covering their head with a hat or a cap. These simple measures will improve their heat tolerance. And at the beginning of summer, they should try to take longer breaks. Okay. And then minimize the duration of exposure to sun. They have to have longer breaks, and as they get used to over next few weeks, they will develop some amount of heat tolerance, and they'll be able to spend more time in sun without getting sick. So let's look at the next question. What are the 7 signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion? So feeling feverishness, dizzy, feeling lethargic. Sometimes patient could be having palpitations when you check their temperature. It could be high, they may have high pulse rate, BP could be little on the lower side. These are all the common symptoms and signs of heat exhaustion. So what to eat after heat exhaustion? So when you have heat exhaustion, actually your appetite will not be good. What's important, a lot of fluids. You take more fluids and avoid taking spicy, oily food because you're already unwell, and take something that is easily digestible. So is it okay to sleep if you have heat exhaustion? Yeah, obviously when you have heat exhaustion, you're tired, you're lethargic, you would want to rest, but make sure you drink buttermilk, something like that, before you hit the bed. So what can be mistaken for heat exhaustion? So what are the symptoms of heat exhaustion? Feeling feverishness, feeling unwell, sometimes body aches, giddiness, etc. Even viral fevers, which are very common, they also have very similar symptoms, feverishness, high temperature, feeling unwell, body pains, giddiness, etc. So it is very easy to kind of confuse heat exhaustion for a viral fever. So what gives you a clue is the history of being exposed to sunlight before these symptoms begin. So obviously if the person is not responding, patient takes rest for a day, stays indoors, drinks a lot of fluids. After a day also, if he does not begin to improve, does not begin to feel well, then obviously you must think of something else. Maybe it's not just heat exhaustion. Probably you could be having some infection. It's better to consult a doctor in that scenario. So let's the next question. How much water should I drink in hot weather? As much as possible. Somebody who spends good amount of time in outdoors, has good amount of exposure to sunlight, you should drink at least 4 liters. And if you're sweating excessively, then even 5-6 liters depending on how much time are you spending in sunlight and how much you're sweating. So what are the signs of dehydration? So this is something we've already discussed. Signs of dehydration are basically, first thing, you feel thirsty, you have some dryness of mouth, you feel unwell, you feel fatigued and lethargic, you would want to rest. Those are the initial signs of dehydration. In extreme dehydration, you will have giddiness on getting up. In fact, if you check your blood pressure in standing position, it would drop, but that's in severe dehydration. Otherwise, in early dehydration, the initial symptoms would be dryness of mouth, you would want to drink more water. So let's move on to the next and the last question. What are the best ways to stay cool in extreme heat? The best thing is obviously avoiding exposure to heat, but that's not always feasible for everyone. People who have to work outdoors, they cannot avoid exposure to heat. In that case, they have to take certain precautions like we've just discussed. They need avoid continuous prolonged exposure. Every now and then they should get into an area with good shade where there is no direct exposure to sunlight. They have to constantly drink water and they need to increase their salt intake to make up for the excessive fluid and salt loss that they lose from the body by means of sweating. And then wearing light colored clothes, just covering your head with a hat or a cap. These are simple measures but will go a long way in helping you prevent from developing heat related illnesses, be it a heat exhaustion or the severe form of it, the heat stroke. I hope I have answered your queries. If you have any further queries or clarifications needed, please do reach out to us. Thank you.